Beginning improvisation for saxophone students. That's what we're going to talk about today. And if you're an intermediate improviser or perhaps an advanced improviser, this might not be the tube for you. So you can check out now, no hard feelings. This is for those among you who are just starting out, just beginning your journey as an improviser, and have had a number of contacts in the last month or so from enough of you to warrant me saying, yes, we got to talk about this today, okay? Hey, my name is Dave. I teach people how to play the saxophone. In fact, most of my students are adult learners, friends who have come back to the saxophone, or those among you who have bucket listed, always wanted to play the saxophone, and finally, a little bit later in life, got around to it. So welcome. If you haven't been to the channel yet, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome aboard. All right, beginning improvisation. Let's get right on it. First of all, I think we want to start with a definition of what exactly improvisation is. And I think that if you were to ask 10 saxophone players, you'd get 10 different answers. Improvisation is this, improvisation is that. And I think really, let's just condense all of that to one simple thing that you can get your hands around and hang on to. I'm going to call improvisation composing. You're composing a very quick melodic interlude on the fly while the band is playing in real time. All right? Composition, composing music is really what improvisation is all about. I don't know how we got to calling it improvisation, and that's not the purpose of this, our meeting here today. Look that up another time. Composing. Now, many of you are sitting on the right and saying, well, I have never composed a thing in my life. And you'd probably be accurate if you were to, leave out childhood. Now, in childhood, we all made up stuff and we sang and we goofed off and we had a good time. Composing with a saxophone, that's a whole different animal. And that's where we get blocked up, all right? Composing on the fly in the environment and coming up with something that, we're going to feel pretty good about. Improvisation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background and my background in improvisation just to see how many of you might resonate with this. I'm going to talk for a few minutes today, so we're going to run a little bit long. You might want to scoot ahead a little bit if you don't want to hear my bore. Nobody can put people to sleep like me. But anyway, I didn't really get into jazz until I got into high school. Jazz was not as we know it. Jazz was not a music that was part of the culture of my childhood. My family, mom and dad didn't play jazz. They had no jazz records. I listened to a lot of pop records and music of the day, and I think Broadway tunes. Broadway tunes, I suppose, could be construed as jazz, but it's not like what we would typically think of as a jazz combo. So that didn't come along until I got to high school. I played rock and roll and I played pop music. Right up till I got to high school, and at the school that I was enrolled in, there was an amazing jazz program. It absolutely way past my skill set jazz program, and I had to audition to get into it, and I did. I got in on the fifth reed. That's the baritone sax, and they had a steamer of a bari sax that had seen better days, and that's what I played for, I think, 2.5, 3 years, however long you're in high school. And there were students in the band who could play solo. They were improvisers. I think there were 4 of them. I think trumpet. I'm thinking there was a trombone, killer trombone player, piano player, and an alto sax guy. And they were the star soloists, right? Now, here's where you come in. When I listen to them play, and I'm 15 and a half at this point, right? I'm listening to these guys play, and I'm wondering, how do they come up with what they're playing? How do they think of what they're playing? We had a great band teacher insofar as he could conduct, he could get a group together, he could hold us all together. And he commissioned charts for us that were exquisitely complex. They sounded real good. I mean, people are still talking about that stage band 50 years later. We toured up and down all the festivals along the coast, and we won everything. And we had just great charts by hip writers like Don Ellis. You might look him up. So this is the stuff that I'm in the deep water at this point. This stuff is way over my head. The guy could not teach improvisation to save his life. And I wasn't really a solo chair, but I think there was an obligation to, have us play solos at some point in the band room. And instead of, there was never any breakdown, never a blackboard with any scale study or any of that sort of thing. He would just yell at us. I don't know what to play. He'd say, well, just play. Just play was what he told us to do. And like I said, looking back, he didn't know how to teach improvisation or how to craft a solo. So there I was, just a total greenhorn on this big Hunkenberry sax, and is where you come in again. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what questions to ask, even of the guys that could play solos. So here I am getting yelled at, just play, the band is cooking, and I'm in a room full of my peers, all right? And it's embarrassing, all roads lead back to high school, don't they? At any rate, I think I have some responsibility here, and I would like to own up and say that I really wasn't prepared either. I mean, I didn't go home and woodshed at night. I didn't. Even if I had known what to woodshed, even if I had known what to do, well, I certainly had my Barry sax parts. The Barry sax stayed in the locker at school. I had an alto at home, but I could have practiced, but I didn't. I actually did not work very hard at it. And I think that looking back, I didn't really take advantage of the opportunity. I didn't really see what I had and how good it was at that point in time. So I wasn't prepared either. I just didn't have much under my fingers in the way of scale studies or melodic studies or any of that business. And is that you at this point? Am I talking to you? Are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you know your saxophone? Because that's what is involved here. In learning how to improvise, one must know the saxophone inside and out. And how do you get there? Well, you get there by playing it a lot, playing it as often as you can. All right. Now, what do you play? Well, let's just dial the clock back to high school. And here I am on this big Hunkenberry sax. I think I might have made one reed last all 3 years. I was, kind of disinvolved, but I'm sitting in there, and we've got these incredibly difficult charts, stuff that's really hard, stuff in 13/8 with crazy, four sharps. Wow. Stuff you'd look at now and just go, oh my God, I think I'll pass on that. But here we are in high school, and, it's all for a grade. So I, again, was woefully inadequate to the task. What I'm going to have you do as you begin your journey into improvisation is to start simple, okay? There are 3 words here that I want you to, it's all about these 3 things, all right? The melody. Number 2 is melody. What do you think number 3 is? Melody, right? It's all about the melody, the melody, the melody. All right? Your solos will want to be melodic. Guys playing a bunch of notes aren't very interesting. Unless, well, some of us. Not all of us. Some of us were interesting blowing a lot of notes. But in the beginning, I would love for you to focus on melody. All right? Now, let's start simple. Let's pick out 3 really simple songs here. Very, very simple songs that you can work on that are fun to play. They're hip. You could play them at jam sessions, but you got to start somewhere. So let's pick Watermelon Man by Herbie Hancock, all right? Watermelon Man by Herbie Hancock. I'm going to put you on to Mr. PC by John Coltrane. Mr. PC, all right? Paul Chambers initials. And let's do one more. How about Blue Monk Blue Monk by Thelonious Monk. All right, there's three. You can look those up. I believe they are all in the Real Book except for Watermelon Man. Look them up in Real Book 6, Watermelon Man. You'll find a delightful breakdown of that in a Jamie Aebersold book called Maiden Voyage. All right, you can get that. You can order that online, or I'll put a link and you can figure out how you're going to get it. Maiden Voyage has that, and it breaks it all down. Simple melodies. All right, let's just focus on Watermelon Man at this point. All right, here's your job. You're gonna listen to Watermelon, and I prefer you learn this stuff by ear. But if you're used to reading things on the page and learning off the page, that's okay. But you got to memorize this. And I don't mean like shaky memorize. I don't mean like halfway, like, well, I got to cheat, or I blow a lot of notes. No, I mean, you have to own this. You have to actually have repeated this melody so many times that you've gone past memorization to owning it, all right? There are stages in this, and you got to do this. I mean, you got to stay on top of this, and I want you to do this. I want you simply have to memorize the melody. All right, there's no way around it. You have to. If you're going to be an improviser or a soloist, you've got to know the melody. So one at a time. All right, this is where the discipline comes in, the craftsmanship of the event. Don't try to do all three at the same time. Just pick one and work on it. And like I said, let's start with Melon Man, fruit salad, Watermelon Man. Okay. The melody tells you so much. All right. It gives you the key signature of the song. It gives you the rhythm of the song. It tells you how the song builds up tension, drama, and releases it all. All of that information. How it moves is in the song. Now, the second thing I want you to do, after you've got the melody memorized, is I want you to learn the chords. I want you to learn how the chords move, how they sound. I want you to learn them not by academically studying them with paper and pencil. Excuse me. What I want you to do is listen to them. Learn them by listening to them. I want you to hear them and know them because you listen to them as many times as it takes. All right, I don't care how many times it takes. Repetition is your superpower. Some of us take more time than others to memorize things. Don't worry about how long it takes you. Just get it done. Okay, so you've got those two things going for you now. You've got you've got it memorized, and you know how the chords, you know how they sound, right? You've got it. Now, the next thing I would love for you to do is to think about scales. Do you have to know your scales? Yeah, you got to know your scales, but not all of them. For the purposes of this exercise, you need to know the scales that relate to that song, the scales that melody is built from. And in Watermelon Man, there are three, and they're pretty simple scales. They're called dominant seventh scales, and I don't have the time to go into that here. But you'll be able to study that in the Jamie Aebersold book. They'll explain what a dominant seven scale is. And they'll also break those out into chord tones. They'll arpeggiate those. They'll make arpeggios of the scales. Arpeggio is simply is the scale minus all the non-chord tones. All right. The chord tones are the root or the one, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. All right, root or 1, 3, 5, and 7. And you want to be able to play those too. All right, this is the alphabet. This is not a solo. This is the alphabet. Much like you wrote a very nice thing for your mother on Mother's Day on Facebook, right? But you didn't think about the alphabet, did you? You didn't sit there and go, oh, well, alphabet. No, because you learned the alphabet a long time ago, and you got it now. It's so fast. It's like 1 + 1 is 2, right? It's that fast. Well, you want to get that fast at the arpeggios, at the scales, the arpeggiated versions of those scales, and then you want to be able to play them backwards and forwards and up and down. Most all pedagogy starts on the root and goes up. Just start at the top and come down. Start at the 7. Play them backwards. Start on the 3. Start on the 5. Start on the 7. Mess around with it. Make it fun. Okay. So look, that gives you some tools, and some things to work on. And I would think that you'd want to give yourself a really reasonable amount of time to spend. Now, there are two more ingredients, and I want you to have them. I'm kind of running long on this, and I knew I would because, I mean, improvisation for beginners, I can't really lay it all out to you. I can touch on the highlights, but the rest of it you want to work on with a bandmate. You want to find someone that you can play with. We can't learn this stuff in a vacuum. You got to have someone that you can play with, someone who plays piano, guitar, a corded instrument. They can sit down of like mind and that you can play along with and study with and have a little time with once a week or more if you can. I mean, you want to be able to play this stuff as much as you humanly can. The others, get a teacher. Sit down with someone who blows some real mean sax in your area and find out if they would sit down with you and tell them, hey, I just saw this YouTube video with this knucklehead, and here's what he said. He gave me these ideas, said I got to memorize songs and just learn the scales that relate to that song. I don't have to learn all of them. I don't have to learn how to play them in all 12 keys. And that's the thing about YouTube. Here's the thing, is that there is no, if you go to like a college or a school of music or something, there's like the beginner level, then the intermediate level, then the advanced level. YouTube doesn't do that, right? I mean, there's stuff that pops out there at you that is advanced as it gets, and it's way over your head. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Excel at the basics, all right? And I've given you just some of the basics. What I got for you, got a free PDF checklist of what we have all talked about. So I'll put a little contact, a way that you can contact me in the description below, okay? If you have any comments or any questions you want to add to this, please, you are welcome to, and I will try to respond to as many as I humanly possibly can. All right? I'm so glad that we had this talk. Thanks for being here today. And, if I can improvise, if anybody can improvise, you can improvise. There's nothing that's holding you back other than sitting down with your horn and putting in some of that time with your horn, because you can, because you got a horn, because you can. Yeah, all right? It's not an obligation. This is fun. All right, so I would love to hear about your progress. Circle back. I'm going to have two more. The next two videos will also be about improvising, and they'll be for improvisers of a little bit of a higher skill set. But this was about to get to at least to answer some of the questions, some of the comments about give us some ideas about how we can learn to improvise as beginners, and you can. All right, I promise you can. All right. Well, I'm rambling on now. I want to check out. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for being here.